Hey, welcome to Capital After Hours. We had a heated, I gotta take my jacket off. It was a heated Capital Report main show, guys, huh? Yeah.
We don't get punchy very often.
Right. Well,
But when we do,
I will say my earpiece fell out, so I had no idea where we were, if I was being told to be quiet or not. And then you guys just started going. I was like, well, I'm going to let them. I'm going to let them
it was a McKinney era sandwich.
Well, I only go after Joe when there's someone in between us.
Okay.
That's good. I really was like,
and when Joe has backup
boy.
here.
So let's finish that up. You know,
Let's get everybody worked up again.
Exactly. You know, unfortunately, the comments surrounded Hitler. It's never a good thing when the comments surrounded Hitler, John McKinney.
Well, here's why I brought it up.
Okay.
You know, we were talking about Senator Anwar and that poster, and that poster was wrong. I'm not outraged.
I take Ramipril,
I'm not
so my
outraged.
cholesterol's under check
but
right
I'm,
now.
I'm not
Thank God.
outraged by
I'm
it.
grateful.
Metoprolol, the whole
Yeah.
thing. I'll read the whole meds. It's after hours.
But to me, the bigger issue, and I'm sure if we had sort of a Republican-leaning protests all around the country on something, we'd see signs that were bad
100%,
too.
yes.
For me, is why has it become acceptable? Thousands of No King rally signs talked about killing the president or the president dying.
86, 45. Right.
And why is that acceptable? And there is
That's unacceptable, by
There's
the way.
bad rhetoric on both sides.
Yes.
But what I find to be offensive is the fact that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, people on MSNBC have all brought Hitler and Trump links together and said he's Trumpian. Just yesterday, J.B. Pritzker was on with Brett Baier on Fox News, and I listened to it on the radio. And he said, you know, Mr. Governor, you've likened President Trump to Hitler. He's like, oh, no, like Hitler, you know, what he did with the Jewish people is terrible, but he's starting to act like Hitler and doing Hitler things. To me, that is the most, you call Donald Trump anything you want, call Republicans anything you want. But when we start calling the president and Republicans Nazis, we have gone too far.
So Tom, I think I'm going to hit on this a little bit too, and I just want to talk with the emotional reactions. I think what you're getting from all of us on the show is we're unsettled. John was a great statesperson. He wasn't a great politician. He was a great statesperson, put others' interest over himself. Right. Liz has worked with an organization that has done some. Brendan, your whole career you fought with it. Tom, you were a state rep. Our ability to discuss these complex issues is going out the drain because the politicians now are catering to these folks. And John, to your point, no, it's wrong. Should not be. What he is doing is authoritarian-like, and 53% of the American public believe it's going that way, and we can have that discussion. But on the same token, when you have the president in the Oval Office saying that Democrats are no different than terrorist organizations, and then he nuances it a little. These are the things that are dangerous for us all. We should be able to talk about these without fearing for our own safety. Mm-hmm. And some of us are fearful for our own safety now, to where if we speak up too loud, what's going to happen? And nobody should ever think that. They should speak truth to power, whatever they want to advocate for, free of any fear. And that's what I'm getting off of this, is we're all a little bit nervous where this is going.
I think that, and that's where I want to just go back to give the governor credit, because I think we don't see that often enough. We really don't. And I think that that's where, for him to say that's wrong and that shouldn't have happened, that shouldn't be the exception. That should be the rule. And the fact that it isn't, I think, speaks volumes to how poorly our system has degraded itself, and the fact that we can't just accept that we shouldn't call for someone to have a heart attack and
ever
die, right? Like that
hard
shouldn't
stop.
be a thing. And so I think my point was to try and give the governor credit, because we need more of that. But I also will say it's so incredibly frustrating, and having worked on campaigns for, I'm sure what many people would say, far too long, is the fact that every single time a Republican anywhere does something that the Democrats in this state or the media find objectionable, my Republican candidates or the electeds get a microphone shoved in their face and they have to answer for it. And that is not true for Democrats.
I'm still waiting for some Democrats to comment on Dennis Bradley going to trial.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I mean,
you,
it
Tom.
just
But, like,
doesn't
do you know what
happen.
I'm saying?
It doesn't
like, that's
happen.
Where it's so frustrating.
Or Ally
As an
Brennan.
operative, right?
Yeah.
As an
Yeah.
operative, I don't have to just know what's happening here. I have to make sure that what's happening all over the country, if something happens,
And
that
McGee,
people are
and McGee, long
ready
before
to
this
respond.
discussion, the African American community for generations have been hearing these kind of comments.
Yeah, and which is it's why it's so emotionally draining
Yeah.
and difficult to engage in conversation around it, because it's like, hey, we've been saying this for a long time, but it's not sufficient enough to end or put a hard stop there, which is why I continue to show up to insert my voice on behalf of not everybody, because we're not a monolith, but on behalf of people I represent. And I think, to your point, Liz, President Donald Trump has such a big voice and influence, and it is now Donald Trump's party. We hold a lot of Republicans responsible in that. Are you going to push back on some of the things that are being said that are just completely awful? Not disregarding what bad things Democrats have been saying. I agree with you, totally. But right now, he's the president, and what is being said, it's causing major division among all people. And I'm talking about some Republicans who are in my family. I shared that with you.
Yeah, we should show that on After Hours. I was going to do that.
I posted that, but there are some Republicans in my family who are like, yeah, I support some of the things this guy is saying, but this is
Sure.
crazy,
But you're
and
not
I don't
supposed
agree
to
with
support
this.
But here's the thing, like this idea that because you are a D or an R, that you then necessarily support 100%
Yes.
of everything that is said or done by anybody in your
Yeah,
party is
'cause I don't.
ridiculous. and who does that, right? I mean, that's
I don't agree with my wife all the time.
I don't agree with myself
Same
all the
here.
time.
So the question is, do we just need to elect better people,
Yes.
At some
like
level,
Ned
yes.
Lamont, or does the system prevent that from happening? And
Yes.
I think it's
Both
now
are
the
true,
latter.
by the way.
And I think we have to.
And they coexist,
I think
by
we
the
have
way.
to be very honest and say that right now, to get a Republican nomination in most states, you have to be all in on Donald Trump. To get a Democratic nomination in most states, you have to be all in on the rhetoric against Donald Trump.
Yep.
It's almost become impossible with 435 congressional seats, maybe 35.
Unpill that a
play.
little bit.
Are in play.
Maybe.
35 are in
Maybe. That's
play.
generous
right,
right now,
Which
yeah.
means if you get the nomination of the Democrat or Republican Party, you are guaranteed to be a congressman.
But guys, you
and
know-
the way you keep that is by stoking your far
But
base.
let's pivot to fundraising. But a lot of this
Let's. I
rhetoric
love this.
drives the fundraising
Of course.
machines.
It does.
Now you have a guy like Ned Lamont who doesn't care about fundraising.
Correct.
He has all the money he needs in the world. He can stroke a $30 million check tomorrow to fund his campaign. So he's not engaged in the Act Blue. He's not playing to the base. He's out there just doing what he believes is the right thing to lower the temperature in the room.
Back to the argument which we had last week. It wasn't even an argument. We threw it out there. We need campaign finance. And I think, John, you're the one that brought it up because really...
Well, Jillian Gilchrist brings it up that she wants
she
the
does.
federal government.
It is a race to the bottom. When you're out there putting your really morals out there and you're taking money in exchange for your positions, it's not
But
right.
Liz will
Well,
push back
come
on that
yeah.
hard.
So look, here's the thing. First of all, I do think campaign finance reform overall is largely responsible for the degradation of our political rhetoric, because I think that everyone is a chase for that
The
$5,
dollar.
$10, $15,
Yeah.
$20. Here's the thing.
And they scare us.
But you know what? You were elected, and I don't know about you, but you were at a time where you could take contributions from
Yeah.
lobbyists and whatever. That never changed
No.
your view on something.
No, it didn't matter at all.
Nobody bought your vote on something.
No.
And so this notion that there's this exchange is so wrong. But here's the thing.
It also insulates incumbents with the.
Well, that's the bigger issue. So what we know is that if incumbents, no matter what, start on third base. Right? They are rounding home in every election. So if you want to be a challenger and you're in a state like Connecticut, you need to outraise your opponent and outspend your opponent if you have any chance of getting elected.
2 to 1 at least.
I mean, look at George Logan in 2022 when he came within 2,000 votes of beating Johanna Hayes. George got outspent 5 to 1 in that election, right? I mean, in order to even get close I think he raised $1.2 million in that race. I mean, there is a huge barrier to entry. So if you do have funded campaigns by the government, you are only electing incumbents, right? And we see that even in Connecticut. As soon as the dark money got out of trying to help Republicans get support at the legislative level,
Well, but I think
then it became an even spending race, and Democrats have been able to just keep their pace and win back those seats. I'm laughing because this guy.
We have history.
Dark money.
But
I do
Dark money sleazebag is what you are, you know?
But I think, look, campaign financing is a problem. The fact that, members of Congress, the first day they're sworn in, are given their schedules and they have their call time.
They do.
Hours a day. That, and it's been a long time, but when my father served in Congress, those hours were spent either doing constituent work or actually lunchtime was going out to lunch with other members of Congress. Maybe you're on the same committee, but you were
Nancy
different
Johnson
parties.
used to talk about that all the time.
Senate Navy bean soup.
When you can connect to somebody on a human level,
Yes.
oh, you have a family, I have a family, you have issues, I have issues. How often do you see your family? You humanize each other, which makes it hard to call them
Names.
bad names.
Correct.
And we've, with social media and with all that, we have dehumanized everybody on both sides. And I don't even think campaign finance reform or no campaign finance reform is going to solve the problem. I actually think we need dramatic change, because I'm a little crazy on this, but I actually think like the California jungle primary, anybody can run, anybody's on the ballot. We're going to have a primary, top 2 people face off.
And let's look at other countries, right, and other parliaments and other.
I'm not sure we have time to get into
But-
other parliaments right now. But
What about more parties? We've been Democrat and Republican for so long.
But this is why.
Is there
You
room?
can't
Because
have
you
more
can't-
parties when the 2 parties in control determine how many parties you have.
Boom. Number one. And number two, look at the
Hard stop.
funding, right? I mean, you look at what Oz Griebel tried to do, right? I mean, you need to raise money and have that infrastructure in order to be able to support that.
because
And-
let's
and
take a
right
quick
now,
break,
that's
and
not happening.
maybe if we're lucky, we'll talk about ranked choice voting when we get back.
I don't understand.
All right, guys, take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Don't understand.
Welcome back to Capital Report After Hours, alongside the panel, where we get to talk about pretty much whatever the heck we want. It's a lot of fun.
your show.
Actually, we're going into Joe Arasimwitz's greatest quotes in the history of Joe Arasimwitz, and we didn't get to the GE guys on yachts, but we did break the dark money sleeves bags. But
We can say these things
sorry.
about each other, you're still my friend.
Yes.
We are
sleaze bag.
proof that this
Yes.
is not prohibited.
Thank you.
Hey, Capital Report was greatly
Sleep
represented
back for the
last week at a panel at Foxwoods when Liz was able to ply herself away from the slot machines, the nickel slot machines, I may say. Bags of nickels there going like that. She moderated a panel on what?
On housing.
On housing, right.
Yeah, the discussion was with Majority Leader
Who was there?
Rojas,
Yep.
Majority Leader Duff, and Brian O'Connor from CCM.
Okay.
The conversation was.
What did you elicit from them?
Well, honestly, I thought they broke some news in the sense of, they tried to just sort of skirt around and talk broad strokes about, sort of what their priorities were.
But somebody.
You put them back. You put them back on
I
track.
did sort of pull it back and just
reined
sort of
them in.
say, and I will give a lot of credit. I think Jason Rojas in particular did a great job of explaining to everyone in the room. By the way, most of the folks, there were, I think, about 400 or 500 people there, all advocates and developers and nonprofit and government agencies, all there to try and solve the housing issue in their community and across the state. And so give credit to them. But I thought Jason did an exceptional job of really trying to break down, here are the issues that we agree on, here are what the sticking points are. And the news that I thought they broke, frankly, was the fact that at least for Senator Duff and Representative Rojas, they are unwilling to put a bill before the legislature that does not include 100% of what they want. So even if they agree on 85%, if they don't get that other 15%, they are unwilling to move forward with progress on the 85%.
I think I read an article that said that there's a 100-page bill. We
Yes.
agree on everything but like 15
Correct.
pages.
Right. Yeah, so to me, I thought that was remarkable.
Pass the big bill,
But here's what
and
And then
take
work
the
on the
little
small
piece and
pieces.
do that later.
And from talking to the advocates in the room, they were very frustrated by that because their point was, if we can get to yes on 85, let us go do the good work on the 85, and then you all go back and figure out the 15. To me, I think that signals there will be no special session on housing, because if you can't get the 100% of what, if you're only going to give for the 100%, it's unlikely that you're going to win back any of those people.
Well, the
that
governor,
voted against
the
it.
governor vetoed
He's
the bill.
vetoed-
Correct.
So he's already said your 100% bill isn't going to get my signature.
And based upon what you observed there, Liz, do you think there will be a bill that will run in special session?
I
Because
don't.
I'm not sure either.
No, I don't think so, because how do you go forward and say that we're
Well,
only running a bill if
we
we're
happen
going,
to have a deputy commissioner of housing, former.
Sure,
Well, I unfortunately unable to attend.
we missed you. I was looking for you.
Yeah, I'm interested, though, to hear more from Jason and others. What were their thoughts on some of the elements of this newly revised proposed bill?
So and that question was asked, right, in terms of on the 15% that you don't agree on, where are you? And he was very optimistic, but I think it seemed like maybe overly optimistic on that. I mean, listen, I think Senator Duff was really, it's the opponents, and really kind of trying to bring Republicans into the conversation. And I reminded him he doesn't need Republicans. Democrats control the legislature, both chambers, and they control the governor's office. And so really, if you're not going to invite Republicans to be part of the legislating process, and you're not going to allow them to be part of writing the bill, you really can't expect them to come in and support your bill.
Isn't that the point, though? Like, I mean, if there's 85% they agree on, everybody agrees on, and 15% that they don't, who is Majority Leader Rojas talking to about that 15%? Is he in active conversations with the governor's office?
I'm sure that he is, yeah.
He's
I'm
not.
sure.
He's not in any conversations with the Republicans.
Well,
Correct.
there's been a couple conversations with Republicans that I know of, but it has not been, which we always suggest, John, is getting everybody around the table. There's been one-offs, and the problem with one-offs is that conversation is catered to that conversation, and you may not get to the other things. I think, and just speaking for Jason and Bob, and I've heard them say it before, the problem is with that theory, which may be the best theory, is they've been trying to do little chunks each and every
Yes,
year.
and that was what they
But
said,
the
genuine
advocates
frustration.
advocates and others are like, we're never going to get there. We have people that really need housing now, and how do we ever get there? So
And that was, by the way, the pervasive conversation was that this is a very important and significant need right now. And you have to give credit where it's due. I mean, I think that absent legislation, there has been a lot of progress, and particularly the time to own program has been tremendous. I think when you look at, they just cut a ribbon on a veterans housing facility. I think that there is a lot of progress that's been made absent legislation. So then again, the argument becomes, what are we?
Well, I don't think we should lose sight, though, of what many of the advocates have been pushing, and that is we want to have access to housing throughout the entire state.
Sure.
We also want to address the lack of infrastructure in many of these communities throughout the state. So having the conversation, I think, is progress in and of
Sure,
itself.
I agree, yeah.
But they continue to kind of push forward. How can we?
I mean, I learned a lot, and I really did try and just sort of ask the questions and not, sort of pontificate on something I don't know too much about. So
I do
learned a lot.
want to give credit to the minority leader Vin Candelora on this, because I was on the phone with him Tuesday morning, I think, and it was a separate issue altogether. And he circled back to this as being an important issue for the state, and how we shun it. Like, we need to do things, we need to do what we can. And so I don't ever want him to be portrayed as somebody who doesn't want to talk about it.
That's correct.
He does. He has ideas, and it is important to him.
And we all know that
The
if
problem is that-
Republicans drafted a bill, the Democrats will just dismiss it, and that's what they did with their budget. So I mean, we can say Republicans
Certain members, not all.
The problem is there
saying.
are too many separate and distinct housing issues that need resolution.
Yes.
And you really can't find them all. I remember when Larry Cafaro and the House Republicans came out with the Learn Here, Live Here, because as a parent of 4 kids in their 20s, there's no way they can afford to get a house anywhere near where they grew up, right? And that's a reality.
That's still true today.
We're talking about that as a country, right? How are the next generation be able to get the American dream of affording a house? That's one issue. 2 is we don't have a lot of workforce housing in areas that need the workforce,
Correct.
places like Stamford, Connecticut.
New London,
Three,
Groton.
three is we keep talking about affordable housing in the suburbs, which is necessary, but Connecticut's not gaining population every year, and I'm afraid we're hollowing out our cities.
McKinney has the last word. We got to take a quick break.
We need to make our cities an attraction for people.
All right, last word, McKinney. Quick break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. John's rolling his eyes a lot at Airsimos days. Hey, in the last 5 minutes we have here, guys, we're going to talk about election day that's coming up, about early voting. We know John McKinney doesn't like to early vote. She likes to hang around like pop-up tents in the cold with like pumpkins around there, having apple cider, having bad donuts,
Standing 75 feet away.
with the I voted sticker. People going, yeah, I remember you.
Early voting takes away the fun.
Dudchik, the
of
reality is the only time John and I get recognized as being former politicians is when all the older folks are like, I remember I voted for you
in Walkers.
and your dad.
All right, Liz, what are you looking at this November?
What am I looking
Yep,
at?
yeah.
I think so far the early vote numbers are indicative that this
Stratford,
is a system.
big numbers in Stratford.
That's maybe a problem. I think there are some significant races. I think New Britain is one.
Yeah, New Britain's
Stratford
interesting.
obviously is a big one. We'll have a special election in Fairfield in February for first election.
Why are those big AB? Why are those early voting numbers in Stratford a warning sign for Republicans?
I think that because most of the time, if the numbers are big, and I don't know the numbers in Stratford offhand.
Well, they're big.
Democrats or Republicans voting.
Yeah.
But generally, if the numbers are big, it's because Democrats are turning out votes early. They're much better at that. They are much better organized. They have a much
They kind of
better
border
ground game.
Bridgeport too,
it
so there's a certain
disadvantages-
geographical thing there.
There's a
learned
there's a
that stuff.
disadvantage to Republicans because Republicans like to vote on election day, right? And
Yeah,
so,
John.
as we talked about this last week, you have to change the seasonality of someone's vote, and that is a lot easier for Democrats than it is for Republicans. And you
You just can't get used to voting in October, right? It's just a
I
little
think
bit.
Milford is
you know,
an interesting race to watch too.
Milford?
right? Long held by Democrats, now a Republican.
Yep.
I think a Stratford, Milford win for the Democrats would be a very bad sign for the Republican Party.
And Norwalk will be interesting
Yeah.
simply because Harry was there for so long, right? And where does it go? Does it go with the Republican candidate, Democratic candidate? I would guess Democrat, but who knows? But the New Britain race, I really am watching you. Obviously, you have our former colleague in the
Bobby
House
Sanchez.
going against Sharon and with the support of Aaron. How does Aaron's support of Sharon parlay into the election?
it's really hard to do.
McGee,
It's
you'll be
hard.
at the polls in Bloomfield, right?
Bloomfield, Windsor,
yep.
some of those smaller towns. I'm looking to see, the engagement from some of these folks, and is that a telltale for midterms next year in 2026?
So
What's happening? Our folks are like sitting at home because they're like, I'm stuck. I don't know how to respond to this. This is crazy. What's happening?
Yep.
And so I'm curious.
Again, that's a
to see the numbers.
seasonality issue.
It
Right?
is.
I mean, that's where you have your 4 of 4 voters who are going to the polls every
right.
year because that is their habit.
just know what-
And, and it's really difficult to change that seasonality. And by difficult, you really have to work at it. The other municipal race I think everybody should be looking at is Torrington. You have an open seat
Yeah.
there. Mayor
Oh,
Carbone
Mayor
retired.
Carbone.
Molly Spino, amazing candidate, an amazing woman, and hopefully,
Torrington.
yeah, hopefully she wins that seat.
Two other quick towns, my neck of the woods I want to mention. One, my hometown of Westport, we have 3 people running. They're all Democrats. There's the
3?
Democrat nominated candidate. There's the Democratic candidate who didn't get the Democratic Party nomination, who's running on the Independent Party. And there's a Democrat who changed to unaffiliated and has now been endorsed by the Republican Party. So you have a Democrat town where you now have 3 Democrats. I think that's good for democracy. And the other thing I want to mention quickly is Greenwich, because Fred Camillo
Freddie, yeah.
is like the Republican version of Ned Lamont. Greenwich is now a town. Jim Himes, Ned Lamont, Dick Blumenthal, Democrats are winning, and Fred still holds strong because he doesn't play the partisan
Yes.
politics. He just plays, I'm a townie and I'm what's good for the town of Greenwich. He's a lot like Lamont as a Republican.
Even in the legislature,
wears hard hats.
He was one of my favorite people to
I'm
be
sure he's
around
got
because
quite a
he
few.
was always truly authentic.
Yep.
He is who he
All right,
is.
guys, more to come next
Great
week.
guy. Yep.
They'll do it for us as Tony Kornheiser and PTI say. We'll try to do better next week. John McKinney,
right,
let's
John.
see
In
what
the
you
hole.
got here.
John.
Let's see
In
what
the
you got.
hole.
Oh,
that was
that's
close,
not
though.
bad.
2 rims today.
Wow.
You made Johnny
Bad,
look good.
bad.
After what I did to him last time, I owed him.
Yeah, you owed me a miss.
Oh, God.
You owed me a bad.